I'm Gregor Thompson. I'm a philosopher and a writer, and I know what the meaning of life is. Welcome to The Struggle. This episode is brought to you by The Struggle newsletter. This is a weekly email newsletter in which I send out every Sunday for free a short article concerning the art of embracing struggle. If you're struggling to be more productive, to be healthy, to achieve your dreams, perhaps you're chasing the wrong thing. A lot of us believe that we should be aiming for happiness, but this is an unwise pursuit, as happiness comes and goes without any control from us. However, there is a way to be more fulfilled with life, and that is to embrace productive struggles, to exercise, to eat healthy, to have uncomfortable conversations, to take career risks, to discover who you are, and to be autonomous. That's why I created a newsletter. Along with the article, I also provide tips, strategies, and recommendations such as movies, music, podcasts, and recipes to help along the way. To sign up completely for free, go to gregorthompson.com, the link will be in the show notes, confirm your subscription, and make sure you check your spam folder for your welcome newsletter, and add me to your contacts to continue to receive it in your inbox for free. And that's it. You're on your way to struggling more and being more productive, healthy, and motivated. Now, let's get on with the struggle. This is episode 28 of The Struggle with me, Gregor Thompson. And this week, I want to touch on the difference between fundamental truths and objective truths. Last week, I spoke about the significance of stories and the significance of the symbols within them. So now I'm going to speak about the truths within these symbols and stories. It's easy to dismiss claims and stories as objectively false. People like to use objectivity to seem more intelligent, but the problem with only viewing the world through an objective lens is that a hell of a lot of meaning is hiding right outside that lens. To view the world objectively and fundamentally is to look below the surface of stories and gauge their significance from a moral standpoint rather than a purely logical one. This allows for better interpretations. Take the story of The Hobbit, as I've spoken about previously on the podcast. Of course, if we view this story through an objective lens, we come to the conclusion, hopefully quickly, that it is not based on actual events. However, we do get lost in the film. So much so that we lose ourselves in it. When we watch any film, we are aware at the start that we are watching it. But if it's a good one, we get lost within it very quickly, as if we're part of the story. Our brains tell us that we are in amongst the film's events. Why does this happen? If it's a good story, it represents something ancient and meaningful within us as humans. We unconsciously recognize that the story is fundamentally true as it has happened again and again across time. Perhaps not in the manner that the film depicts, but broadly speaking, the story has happened. Of course, there never was elves, hobbits, or orcs, I'm afraid to say. But the story of an unlikely hero ignoring what's trying to hold him back and going on the adventure of a lifetime, overcoming seemingly impossible obstacles and returning a better individual, that story has been repeated for centuries. So what must be understood concerning mythology, religion, stories, and fiction is that they are fundamentally true. Now, what do I mean by fundamentally? The word fundamental is defined as, roughly speaking, the formation of the necessary core or base which is of central and vital importance. So I'm not saying that religious stories and myths are objectively true, just that they form the necessary core which is of vital importance to society and culture. Therefore, we should take them seriously. Clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson speaks about this a lot. Now, I know he's a controversial figure, but what he speaks about with regards to fundamentality in contrast with objectivity is true, and it speaks to me deeply. As much as I've read and listened to many people like Peterson speak of the significance of religion, I hadn't found the deep meaning associated with their morals. However, to say that the stories in the Bible are fundamentally true is to say that they reoccur again and again across time. We need only look for the symbolism within them. We don't have to believe the stories in the Bible to be literally true, just that they're fundamentally true. In order to find meaning and purpose, we must learn to decipher when to utilize our objective mindset and when to utilize our fundamental mindset, for not everything can be explained through objectivity. Therefore, we should ask ourselves why our favorite stories speak to us specifically. Do we see ourselves in these stories? Do we want to be like the people in them? Do we want to be unlike them? There's a reason why you specifically relate to a certain story and not another one. It might be time to question why these stories and not others, and then act accordingly. So you might like The Hobbit. Is that because something is calling you out towards adventure? Is it because you see yourself as unworthy of that adventure just as Bilbo did? Is it because you have some grand goal that requires the overcoming of various obstacles? If so, you know what you need to do. Do as the story tells you to do. So listen to the fundamental core of stories and then act accordingly. The answer lies in the struggle. So keep on struggling. Just a few more things before you take off. Firstly, thank you for watching. It genuinely means a lot to see people viewing and liking the content. Second, if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe. It's the best way you can support the podcast. As you can probably tell, I don't have a lot of fancy equipment and I don't have a team behind me helping with recording and editing the podcast. So any support from you is greatly appreciated and it will help the podcast grow. You can also stay up to date with everything I'm doing on social media. All of the links will be in the show notes. And you can listen to the Struggle podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And lastly, keep on struggling.